Hello! I don't know what our theme music is, but hey, we're here, two Pilates chicks. I'm Hillary.
I'm Davida.
Hey.
Hello.
We actually are filming today too.
Hi.
It's a new year,
New
2023.
Isn't that crazy?
I know. Did you have new clients today? Any new clients?
No, a bunch of old clients today.
Mm.
Everyone is getting back to it. But we do have a lot of new clients coming in.
Yep. I had a new client.
You did, yeah.
But they got their time wrong.
Yeah.
Which is why we're now doing our podcast a little early today. And we're actually in my studio because the weather is not great outside.
Outside is frightful.
It's like Seattle or Portland. No offense, but not our normal weather.
It's not LA weather.
Not
for
LA
sure.
weather.
But it's fun to have a change.
Yeah, it's cold. We want to get into our PJs now.
Or cozies.
So today we're chatting on, we kind of led into it last season. Oh, it's season 4, episode 1.
Yeah, it is.
Yay. The psychology of clients, but it's like a very loaded subject. So we're gonna kind of break it down a little bit, but then we have a whole series we're gonna do
On
different kind of
personalities.
Yeah, and dealing with not dealing with, but learning to teach.
Yeah,
I would
learning
say.
how to work with
And guide. So I think we should just kind of start. So we're gonna just kind of. There's the struggle with the word for the very first season episode. We'll kind of just generalize the personalities and go with that. You want to go with them? Go with them, Davida.
So we were thinking like new year, you got a lot of new clients, new personalities, lots of new people to deal with. People have those resolutions, right?
Yeah.
Beginning of the year, okay, I'm going to start working out more. I'm going to finally try Pilates.
I'm going to get back to it.
Yeah, back to it. Clients have left and they're going to come back to you. And so we have all these new personalities coming in, along with our tried and true regulars.
That we're still trying to figure out.
Always trying to figure out each other. But then we have these typical personalities that we can generalize where
we kind of gave them names.
Yeah, we have the, oh, I can't do that client. The, oh, well, I do it this way client who's been doing Pilates for a long time and had lots of different teachers. Oh, I do it this way. We have the, that hurts client.
Yep, everything hurts.
Everything hurts. They're afraid of sensations. They don't know how to differentiate sensations.
Don't know if it's pain or work.
There's
a lot of that actually.
A lot of that. We have the combative client where they always have something to say back. Always, no matter what, there's always something. It's never too easy. It's always a struggle a bit.
Yeah. And then you have that bored.
The bored client.
They give that like bored look of.
And that alone can be many different things because you can have the person who looks disengaged but is actually super interested.
Yeah, it's kind of like that, I won't say the word, but that RBF, the, resting.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that thing.
Yeah, definitely. There's that. You have the client that then you think they might be bored or disconnected because they never respond to you verbally. Like they just aren't verbally connected, but maybe they don't want to say anything.
They don't want to engage with you in that way.
Yeah,
they're just going with it.
With their class. But then you have the bored version client that is literally saying, "Well, I'm bored. You're not
doing enough. I'm bored."
Yeah, and that we were saying with the bored client, we have to look at why are they bored?
Right, because there's like you said, some things we can fix. Some things we can't.
Some things are, within our responsibility as the teacher. So am I not engaging them enough? Am I not teaching to their level?
Right.
Am I not diving deep enough into the work with them?
Giving them something to really think or focus on for them.
Yeah. So there's that we can control, but then there's the client that's just disconnected and they
not really there
and they're just bored because they want to.
They're probably bored all the time.
Right, and that's something that's their personality type. We can't really change that.
No.
So those are all the different
categories. Subcategories. But there's more, which we'll kind of go through in our series, which we'll let you know. But let's kind of go with what we kind of talked about in terms of with that new client and the psychology of it, and when they come in and they're new.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got to figure kind of out, if you think about everything you just said, how they learn and what their thought process is and how they learn, because that's going to feed into all of that, being bored, being combative, being, I do it this way, not this way. So is it internal or external in your learning, right?
Right. So that's the primary, like seeing, and you might not know right away either, right? How somebody learns. You have to get.
It's like learning their body.
Yeah.
Only the mind is probably harder.
Yeah.
You can't really see things.
Lots of layers.
Lots of layers.
So the person who connects better to the intrinsic cues versus extrinsic cues. So that alone, you can start to see just based on how they move. When you start to say something or like reach for the door versus extend your knee, like how do they react?
Because it's true. It's like someone would go, well, straighten your knee. And they're like, it is straight. Or they don't understand, but you can reach that for this. And they're like,
and they get it.
There it goes. Yeah.
Push the foot bar farther. Push it in both directions, and then they get it. Whereas if you're saying like, oh, well, pull in as you're like doing footwork, pull in also.
They're
it's
like,
well, what does that mean? Like,
you don't get it.
Keep pushing as you return. Yeah. And that starts to build.
But like you said, that takes time with the client and learning how they process.
How they process, how they learn, how they
how much information they can go with at once. Yeah, that can be overloaded. I think we talked about it in another podcast about how many cues your brain can like absorb, and then it just shuts off.
Right.
So it's kind of the same with teaching.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And especially because especially when they're new, but everybody. But especially when somebody's new, you tell them one thing, but they're already also thinking about like the choreography we just gave them. And if we're like, oh yeah, feel where your body's on the mat, like make sure you're not like,
You're like, how do I do that?
What am I doing? So we're asking them to feel things, think about things, and actually do the action and move.
Well, and we learn this when we go through training, at least I hope people learn this, is like, that first time client, it's very intimidating. They've never seen a Cadillac, they've never seen a Wendell chair, most people have seen a reformer at this point, but it's a little scary. And so they're trying to figure that out, and then you're trying to do your job. So it can be like overwhelming and a little overload, and they can get frustrated. Ooh, that's a good one. We didn't even think of that. A frustrated client. See, there's so many personalities.
Very many.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, but how do they learn? That's key.
Yeah, and that's where it starts. Because so if you start working with a client and you're like, okay, so you give them an exercise and they right away just, I can't do that. Like, okay, we have to start a little slower. We have to take a step back. We have to try something else. So you right away know
that's
how they respond to new situations.
Yeah. And I think that's key, is realizing that in that moment and going, okay, and carrying it throughout, because it's like, okay, this client knew this is going to happen. So think about Pilates, you're constantly learning new things.
Yeah, I told one of my clients that today. She's been doing Pilates for a long time. I've been teaching her for a long time. And she said something about, something made sense to her. Oh yeah, I'm finally getting this after however many years. And I said, I've been doing Pilates for 20 years. I'm still learning new things. So
that's the brilliance of the work.
There's no end goal.
There's no end goal.
Continuous development.
But I think when you look at the way clients are thinking and the way they're learning, and like you said, they have a lot going on in their own minds. They have this whole internal chatter that's going on as we're teaching. So they're kind of listening to that. So it's like, we have to kind of figure out what is their internal chatter. Because is it that I can't do this, I know I can't do this, I know I can't do this, or is it like this is really hard and I'm scared, or, you know, what's going on in their mind, or what is that spring noise, or they could be totally off on something
else.
Grocery list or something.
Or one of my clients gets really bothered by the ball bearings in one of the wheels that kind of crackles, and he's always like, well, today it's really loud today, and I'm like, would you like to try this reformer? So until like he gets very distracted by that, so you know, you never know what people are thinking about, but I think it's very important for teachers to be aware of clients' internal chatter and how we all have a constant internal chatter.
Exactly.
Because we do that as teachers ourselves.
Oh yeah.
But I think especially for a new client, like, oh, this doesn't look good. Oh, I can't do that. Oh, like all the negative internal chatters.
Yep.
Trying to build that confidence with the client enough so that they can at least
change that chatter.
Change the chatter a bit, or maybe move the chatter into thinking more about what they're doing versus how they think they look.
Yeah,
you know, adapting it.
I'm glad you said that, because a lot of times with, especially it's a new year, new clients coming in, and you get these clients and they haven't done Pilates before, so they're a little intimidated, like we talked about, and so, you know, they could be on there going, you know, am I doing this right? Is this right? I need to make sure this is right, and they're so worried about being perfect, or being, you know, doing it the way we, you know, are saying the correct, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And so giving them that, like you said, a little bit of a relief of the internal chatter is like, you know, there's no perfect, we're just flowing, we're just seeing where we are.
Yeah.
See what happens, whatever it is, so that they're not like, it has to be like this, and I'm so freaking out right now.
Right.
I feel like I'm not doing it right. Or bang to the carriage, you know?
Yeah. Well, and then sometimes clients will be like, oh, I'm sorry, like if they bang the carriage in. I'm like, that's okay, you know, you just use that as feedback to know you learning where the stoppers are, you're learning where your
I always say there's no sorry.
Yeah.
Unless they purposely did something.
Well, sure.
Yeah. But then I want my apology, but
no. Yeah, like people, oh, sorry, like if they do the exercise wrong, or they do,
oh, sorry, that was wrong. Yeah.
I'm like, that's fine, let's do it again. It's just
fine.
a process.
It's movement.
Yeah.
It's working out.
Doesn't matter. It's so interesting.
And it goes kind of into that fear or uncertainty with them.
Yeah.
In terms of, I just feel like we see people, especially when they're new, very vulnerable mindset.
Yeah.
Because they don't have confidence in their movement yet. They don't have confidence in what they're doing. And so they're very vulnerable.
Yeah.
And scared and fearful, and I mean, not like, you know, gonna cry or anything, but
but it is a vulnerable place to walk in, even if they have done Pilates before somewhere else, to walk into a new studio,
new people,
new space, new teacher. You know, it's a little scary. It's intimidating on some level. It just is, and even as a teacher, like, you know, it's still, you go into a new space, it's intimidating. And so, like, as practitioners, as the teachers, it's our responsibility to care for that client. So, like, welcome them into the space, have them be comfortable. And, you know, just kind of welcome them in. This is your time, this is your space. You know,
this is about you.
Yeah,
nobody else.
The time for you. Just trying to build that atmosphere. Not necessarily saying those things, but like building that space for the person. And I just, I think it's something that we don't talk about so much in teacher training programs, because we're trying to get through all the choreography and everything, all the different exercises, the different equipment, and contraindications. But the psychology of the client, how people think, how people learn, what they're walking in the door with, if they're...
Because they may be carrying a lot of baggage.
Yeah.
Well, like we talked about, I think it was the last maybe podcast or the one before, where it's like people are going through things in their lives, like we all are. And so you don't know when they walk. I mean, I've had people walk in the door and I ask, you know, hey, let's get, blah, 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 and they burst into tears.
Yeah.
Because something went on before they walked in the door and they didn't want to cancel, and it's like, okay, we need to like just take care of this, because we don't know what's going on in their lives.
Yeah.
And making sure that they feel safe and comfortable enough to, you know.
Yeah, comfortable enough to be able to be here with us and like
be vulnerable but safe.
Yeah, to be able to try new things and work through the work and you know,
and kind of clear their mind. I was reminded of a client I had. You were talking about sorry, you know, and so like I'm sorry, because they want to do good. They want to make sure everything's great. And she this whole session, and she was really bad about it anyway. And she's like, oh, I'm sorry, and I was like, okay, no more sorries. And it was so, cause I was just like, no more sorries. And she's like, and then we would do something. She'd go,
stop.
Yeah. And I just give her this look. But it was like, because it was just this, not even a thinking process. It was just kind of like anytime she did anything, I was like, oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry.
Just a response.
Well, yeah. And it's like, no. We're done with that.
Well, because that, like, it's almost like a put down, for lack of a better word, to ourselves.
It is, yeah.
I mean, and I notice a lot more of my female clients do it. My men don't do it.
No.
So,
men really apologize.
but it is like a female thing.
Yeah.
And that's like, you could go on a whole tangent, that's a societal thing, whatever. But I have a few.
We could go on.
I have a few female clients who are very, very, very apologetic all the time.
All the time.
And it is just an automatic response. And they're just always like, like we're saying, oh, sorry, I did that wrong. Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry. Yeah, but I do think it's definitely, and that, God, we could just keep going. Because that brings up a whole thing with, you've got the psychology of a male client and the female client. Because those are two, like, what was it, that book, Mars and Venus?
Yeah.
You remember that? Like way back. But yeah, they're totally different ways of thinking. A man's brain and anyone who's married, has a partner, they get it. Because it's a totally different way.
And there's generalizations and there's, different personalities, different people in different ways. Regardless of gender or class, culture, country, whatever. There's some similarities across the board. Certain generalizations. But yeah, you are correct, because there's a lot of nuances to personality, which everyone's an individual, so we have to remember that. Yeah. And I just think overall it's just important for teachers to remember that whole side of our teaching.
Yeah, because I think you're right. It's definitely overlooked. I think it makes our job more fulfilling and easier, because we're not sitting there, why are they not listening, or why are they not, or why is this, and I can't stand this. And if you kind of take a step back and go, okay, what is going on for them? Like, it's not about you. What is going on with them that I can guide them through this in a way that works for them?
I think that's a very important point. Like, it's not about us as a teacher.
It's never about us.
It's very easy to take things personally. Yeah. And if we're talking about personalities, certain teacher personalities, certain of us take things more personally, more easily, or more sensitive to other people than others. But that's a very important thing to always try. It's not easy, but for us as the teacher to try to take a step back and be like, okay, this is their personality. This is about the client. This is the client's personality. Why they're responding to something a certain way or reacting. Yeah. So that's, I think, important but hard to remember.
Especially in the moment.
Yeah.
Because like when someone's coming at you, or being, that client that's like, oh, I don't do it that way and I want to do it this way, and you're like, what just happened?
Yeah, we can be frustrated, or you can feel kind of bad, like, well, why don't they trust me? Like, do they not think I know what I'm doing? And then you can doubt yourself.
Yeah, but I think you just nailed it. It's like, why don't they trust me? So why don't we take a step back and go, okay, how can I get them to trust me?
Yeah.
Instead of going down the route of, why don't they? I don't understand. What's going on? It's kind of like, okay, let's look at this. So they don't trust me. How can I get them to trust me?
Yeah. So like, instead of having our own internal chatter, that negative spiral,
take it and turn it around.
Turn around. How, okay, are they new? Did they come in a bad mood? Did they all those different things? What is happening that they're not able to trust the process or trust my teaching right now. Because it's not that we don't know things, because we know things. We know we're good at what we do. But for that individual client, like, what's not working
Something's
right now?
missing for them. Yeah.
And in the end, it might not be something we can control.
No. It's like there's always a teacher for somebody. And that not every single client that comes into your space is going to be someone who stays. Because there might be just something that doesn't click for them. And it's just not something we can fix.
Yeah. And yeah, not every client is meant for us. And we don't want to deal with those clients that don't work for us or want to be here. And there's plenty of other people who do.
Yeah. Well, that's what's great about, and I always tell my students this, it's like when they're learning, and you're, like you said, you're learning the choreography, you're learning precautions and contraindications, you're learning how to teach and to verbalize. But each teacher has their own little gift. Like, I feel like each teacher has a gift and they're discovering it. And sometimes that's not something personality-wise that gels with somebody else.
Yeah.
We could go to the whole psychology of like their past and their family, and maybe you trigger something, you know, or they trigger something. That's a possibility. And there's nothing you can do about that.
Yeah.
It's like they can trigger something, or
so your personalities don't mesh, they are expecting something different, you know, whatever it is. I think with new teachers, we get like scared if we're gonna lose a client or push someone away or that fear, but it might not be the right person to have to work with.
Yeah, and you're a new teacher and you think it's you half the time. It's like, well, why didn't they come back? They came in for one session. Why didn't they come back? And it's like, you may never know. I mean, you could reach out and go, you know, hey, I'm curious. Yeah. You know, was there something? If you feel like I wouldn't, but
I don't.
I'm like, I don't want to.
Yeah. Because you can kind of feel it in a session as a teacher if you're like, this is not
jiving.
Yeah, something's not working between us. And sometimes I've been surprised when people that I don't think I work well with come back.
Yeah, I've had that where you're like, oh, they're not coming back. That was a horrible session I gave them, and they're like, that was great. And you're like, okay.
But again, different people feel differently. You just never know.
Yeah. But I think, and we'll kind of wind it, but I do think, and see what your thoughts on this is going back to the psychology of the client. You've got the combative, the bored, that hurts, this, that. And if we stay in that session, in that moment with them of like, oh my God, they're so irritating because they're bored, or they're so irritating because they're combative, and do like we said, and step back and go, okay, what is going on internally for this client, and how can I, because that could end up being one of your best clients.
Figuring out how to work through that with them.
Yeah, and then the trust comes, and then this whole new,
open up this whole other realm of this person.
Instead of just like, oh my God, they're so combative with me, I just can't handle them. But then there are those that you can try, and it just won't happen.
You just can't.
You can't get there, but that's okay.
And it is okay. Yeah. It is okay.
It's all good, but I think it's important, especially new year, new goals for clients. They're coming in with expectations.
Yeah. Resolutions,
which I hate that word.
Me too.
It's like, no. Let's just have. I asked my clients. Well, I asked you, and you didn't. You'll remember eventually. What their goal is for the year in their Pilates.
There's something within Pilates that they want to work with.
Yeah. And the best one, I told Davida, the best one I heard was the client who's young. It's not like she's had her baby's 3, 2.5, and now she's pregnant again, and her goal was just to keep moving. I was like, I love that goal.
So fantastic, because that can be for
everything. Yeah. Let's just keep moving. Oh, before we forget, our sponsor.
Who we're sponsoring.
It's Toe Socks.
Toe Socks today.
Toe Socks.
We're shouting out to Toe Socks.
Yes. I have one of their side brands on.
That's really cute.
Yeah. It's got a little heart on it. For those that can't see, it's a heart. Yeah. But that's they don't know they're our sponsor, but check them out.
Shout out to them.
Shout out to Socks. Toe Socks. All right, well, that was a loaded podcast.
Those are personalities, psychology of clients.
New year. Good gosh.
And then we'll pick some specific ones and
we're going to do a whole
flesh them
series.
out a little bit.
Yeah, and kind of pick one, go with it for that.
Specifics on that specific type of client.
Exactly. Because there's pretty much your standard kind of clientele in terms of things. And we are also clientels, right? We have our own practice and our own teachers and our own, workouts. So, but we're not combative.
Hopefully.
Hopefully not.
Sometimes we probably can be.
Like, no, I don't want to do that. No, I don't do it that way.
My response is, okay.
Yeah. Woohoo! Okay. Okay. Sure. Okay. Those are the best clients.
Yeah.
Yay. All right. Well, we will be back in a couple weeks, but Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Go get some toe socks. And just remember to